All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're not just going to talk about a topic, we are building a playbook. This is a super focused guide, and it's designed to help you crush one of the biggest hurdles out there for any tech pro, the Linux interview. So this is the big one, right? How do you actually turn all that Linux theory into a job offer? You've read the books, you've typed the commands, but how do you make that stuff sound good in an interview? Compelling enough to get you hired. That is exactly what we're going to break down today. Okay, first things first, let's talk about our advantage here. This is not about memorizing 1,000 different commands. No way. It's about building a real strategy. It's about figuring out what those hiring managers are really asking so you can show them you have a deep, practical grasp of the system. Yeah, exactly. We are not just learning about Linux today. We are literally building your interview script. Think of this as your personal coaching session, right? Every single concept we cover is just another line you can use, a line designed to show how competent you are, and, let's be honest, to help you land that job. Okay, let's get into it. To absolutely nail the interview, you have to have the fundamentals down cold. I mean, a weak foundation is just going to crumble under pressure, so let's make sure yours is rock solid. And that starts with the absolute core of what Linux even is. So when an interviewer hits you with, "What is Linux?" a killer answer goes way beyond just, it's an operating system. Instead, try something like this. Well, at its heart, Linux is an open source, Unix-like operating system. But the real core, the most important part, is the Linux kernel. That kernel is the brain of the whole operation. It manages all the hardware resources, the CPU, memory, all the devices, and it acts like the main bridge between the software you run and the physical computer. See? That kind of answer shows you get the architecture right from the jump. And look, why does this matter so much? Because let's be real, this knowledge is your ticket. It's a direct path into some of the hottest careers in tech. We're talking system administration, cloud engineering, cybersecurity, development, you name it, Linux is the common language. If you can master it, you're opening doors all over the industry. All right, so you've defined Linux. You've nailed that first question. Now we're going to go one level deeper. And this is where you really start to pull away from the other candidates, the ones you just throw around buzzwords. We're going to dig into the mechanics, the how of it all. A fantastic way to show you really get it is to walk them through the layers of the OS. So imagine a stack. Right at the bottom, you've got the physical hardware. The kernel sits directly on top of that, controlling everything. Now, applications, they don't usually talk straight to the kernel. Nope. They use these things called system libraries. And how do we talk to it? Well, that's where the shell comes in. That's our command interface. Being able to just casually walk an interviewer through that stack, that proves you see the entire picture, not just bits and pieces. Okay, this right here, this is basically your set of expert talking points, your cheat sheet for the interview. So when they ask about the main functions of an OS, you can go way beyond a simple definition. Let's take process management, for example. You could say something like, "Oh yeah, a crucial function is process management. The kernel is in charge of the entire life cycle of a program, from the moment it's created to how it gets scheduled on the CPU, all the way to when it's closed. It makes sure all these different apps can run at the same time without messing with each other's memory. It's actually why we can use commands like ps and top to see what's going on." Now that is a specific, confident answer that's going to stick with them. All right, so you get the internals. That's huge. But to really impress an interviewer, you need context. Knowing where Linux fits into the bigger picture, how it relates to other types of operating systems. That shows a whole other level of appreciation for the field. So let's do a quick tour of the OS landscape. First up, we had the batch OS. This was all about processing huge jobs in big chunks with no user sitting there watching. Think big payroll systems. And you can see the echo of this today, right? When we use tools like cron in Linux to run automated scripts. Then came the time-sharing OS, and this was a total game changer. It allowed multiple users to all work on one system at the same time interactively. This is the core idea that makes modern multi-user Linux servers even possible. From there, we get the distributed OS. This is where you manage a whole bunch of separate computers, but you make them act like one single powerful unit. And if that sounds familiar, it should. It's the whole idea behind the cloud and tools like Kubernetes, which, by the way, almost exclusively run on Linux. Next, the network OS. This one is really focused on sharing stuff, like files and printers, over a network. And Linux is an absolute beast at this, with tools like Samba for sharing files with Windows computers, or CUPS for managing printers. Then you have these super specialized systems. A real-time OS, or RTOS, is used where the timing has to be perfect, down to the millisecond. Think robotics, or medical equipment, or aerospace. And of course, there are special versions of the Linux kernel, like RT Linux, built just for these high-stakes jobs. And finally, bringing it all home, the mobile OS, which is totally optimized for our smartphones and tablets. And guess what? The world's #1 mobile OS, Android, is built directly on top of the Linux kernel. It just goes to show how incredibly versatile this thing is. It all connects back. Okay, we have covered the what, the how, and the why it matters. Now for the most important part, the execution. This is how we pull it all together so you can walk into that interview and just nail the technical questions. So this is your final checklist, your game plan. In the interview, don't just sit there waiting for them to ask you every little thing. Take the lead. Talk about the Linux architecture. Confidently name the core components of the OS. When you explain a key function, like process or memory management, use clear examples. And the big one, always connect the theory back to how it's used in the real world. And really, at the end of the day, this is what it all comes down to. You have to be ready to talk about practical applications. Can you explain memory and process management on the fly? Can you talk about shell commands and security features? Being able to say yes to those questions, that's the finish line. That's the job offer. So there you have it. The playbook is in your hands. The script is basically written. Now it's time to practice. Look back at everything we just covered. What's the very first concept you're going to review using this playbook? Is it the OS layers? Is it the core functions? Just pick one and start there. Go turn this theory into your next job offer. You've got this.